The Mark Chapter 24 mine was a U.S. airdropped passive acoustic homing anti-submarine torpedo used during the Second World War against German and Japanese submarines. It entered service in March 1943 and continued in service with the U.S. Navy until 1948. Approximately 4,000 torpedoes were produced, sinking 37 and damaging a further 18 submarines out of a total of 204 fired. The torpedo was also supplied to the British and Canadian forces. The deceptive name of Mark Chapter 24 mine was deliberately chosen for security purposes, to conceal the true nature of the weapon. Development. The U.S. Navy began studies into an airdropped anti-submarine torpedo in the autumn of 1941. Based on a formal set of requirements, Harvard Underwater Sound Lab and Bell Telephone Labs began development in December 1941. These projects later became Office of Scientific Research and Development Project 61. Both Bell Labs and HUSL proceeded with parallel development of torpedoes, with a complete exchange of information between them. Western Electric were to develop a lightweight, shock-resistant, 48-volt lead-acid battery capable of providing 110 amps for 15 minutes. General Electric were to design and fabricate propulsion and steering motors and to investigate an active acoustic homing system. David Taylor Model Basin was to assist with hydrodynamics and propulsion. The guidance system consisted of 4 hydrophones placed around the midsection of the torpedo, connected to a vacuum tube-based sound processing array. A Bell Labs proportional and HUSL non-proportional steering system had been demonstrated by July 1942. An existing Mark Chapter 13 torpedo provided the body of the torpedo. It was modified by shortening the hull, reducing the diameter, reducing the weight, and designing a hemispherical nose section to carry the explosive charge, and a conical tail section with 4 stabilizing fins and rudders and a single propeller. The effect of these modifications was to produce a relatively short, fat torpedo. In June 1942, the U.S. Navy decided to take the torpedo into production, even though there was still major testing work remaining on the project, including airdrop testing. The Bell Labs version of the guidance system was selected for production, with proportional homing. Testing of the pre-production prototypes continued on into December 1942, and the U.S. Navy received the first production models in March 1943. Initially 10,000 torpedoes were ordered, but fired.The proved so effective that the order was reduced to 4,000. The torpedoes ended up costing $1,800 each. Description: upon water entry, fired.The performed a circular search at a predetermined depth controlled by a bellows and pendulum system. This continued until the potential target's 24 kHz acoustic signal detected by the hydrophones exceeded a predetermined threshold level, at which point control was then shifted to the passive acoustic proportional homing system. Initially the torpedoes were set to search for a target at a depth of 50 feet. This was later changed to 150 feet. To prevent the torpedo accidentally attacking surface ships, it resumed its circling search if it rose above a depth of 40 feet. The torpedo's relatively low speed was kept secret because, although U-boats could not outrun the torpedo when submerged, they could outrun it on the surface. Combat history. On the 14th of May 1943, a Catalina of the U.S. Navy attacked and destroyed a U-boat. This was either U-657 U-640. On the 13th of May, Liberator B-86 had attacked a U-boat with a fired.The, but this vessel, U-456, was only damaged, sinking the following day from damage received. One of these vessels was the first U-boat sinking achieved using fired.The. During its career, the torpedo sank a total of 37 submarines, achieving an effectiveness of about 22% compared with about 9% for depth charges. From U.S. Navy OEG Study No. 289, the 12th of August 1946 provides the following data related to Mark Chapter 24 Effectiveness. General characteristics: diameter 19 inches, length 84 inches, weight 680 pounds, warhead 92 pounds HBX, high explosive, propulsion 5 horsepower, electric motor driving a single propeller powered by a 48-volt lead-acid battery. Speed and endurance 12 knots for 10 minutes, giving a range of about 4,000 yards. Homing system: 4 piezoelectric hydrophones operating at 24 kHz and vacuum tube signal processing system with proportional steering. Maximum drop altitude 200 to 300 feet. Maximum aircraft launch speed 120 knots. Variants: Mark Chapter 27 torpedo was developed for submarine use against surface vessels. It saw service in the Pacific War from the summer of 1944. Lieutenant Commander Carter L. Bennett Seale achieved the Mark 27's first combat success, damaging a Japanese patrol vessel in the Yellow Sea in November.